Mike Barnes. Mike Barnes. This is the first character in my new series that I do character analysis, whether it be for video games, all fictional characters in media, video games, movies, TV shows, whatever. So this is the episode, not episode necessarily for the one, but the first vlog of that series. So here we go. Mike Barnes from Karate Kid 3. He appeared in the third film of the Karate Kid. Hopefully he'll be in season 5 of Kai. He needs to return. I don't see how he wouldn't be in season 5. I really don't. But yeah, so yeah, Mike Barnes. I did put in a insert in the description box about him, about some information, basic introduction. I did 2 quotes that he said. One was, "Mr. Silver, you just bought yourself a champion." The other one is what he told Daniel after he got Daniel down. He was like, and he put his foot on his neck and shit. And Daniel's like this. He was like, "There's nothing you got that I can't counter. Your karate's a joke." End quote. There's nothing you got that I can't counter. Your karate's a joke. That's my favorite line of his in the entire film. Yeah, Mike Barnes was, Michael. Mike Barnes was ruthless. He was a fine antagonist, anti-Daniel. You know what I'm saying? He tormented him. He was on this case about signing the application because Daniel was like, "Oh, I'm not going to compete in the All Valley." You know what I'm saying? I mean, Mike Barnes antagonizing Daniel created a series of events throughout the movie that also put him and Miyagi's, his karate master, by the way, relationship in jeopardy. You know what I'm saying? Even though it was a ruse to get Daniel to participate and him be hurt, so that was the plan, So, but let's focus on Mike Barnes. You know what I'm saying? If Daniel was afraid of anybody, out of Chosen and Karate Kid 2, Johnny and Karate Kid 1, he was afraid of Mike Barnes. He wasn't afraid of Johnny. How do I know this? Because of the antics that he pulled. Remember the shower hose, what he did with the shower hose, pour that water on Johnny and shit? And Karate Kid 1, and nearly cost him his life after they caught up with him. And Miyagi saved his ass. Yes, you heard me. Daniel could have died. And I believe he would have died. Johnny was going to kick Daniel so hard, it'd probably take his fucking head off. I mean, you see when Miyagi saved him, when he pushed Daniel out the way, and Johnny kicked that sign, that motherfucker broke in half. That was a powerful kick. That was going towards Daniel's fucking face. No way. That would have been a death blow. Johnny would have went to jail for manslaughter and shit. Yeah, Cobra Kai is fucking poison, man. It really is. But I'm getting off topic. He definitely wasn't afraid of Johnny because he kept fucking with Johnny. Because if he was afraid, he wouldn't have been getting back at him, quote, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? And there are deleted scenes that showed Daniel fucking with him. You know what I'm saying? So, basically getting back at Johnny, because Johnny and his boys was picking on him, And he definitely wasn't afraid of Chosen. He definitely thought Chosen in part 2 was a fucking psycho. That's for damn sure. But he definitely wasn't afraid of Chosen. No, not at all. But he was afraid of Mike Barnes, which is interesting. How do I know that? Because at the end of the movie, he told Mr. Miyagi he was afraid of him. He wanted to go home in the tournament. He doesn't want to fight him anymore because Mike Barnes was a fucking beast. Fuck the fact on the debate whether he could beat Chosen in part 2 or not. It doesn't matter if Chosen can wipe the floor with him. We're focusing on Daniel versus Mike Barnes, not fucking if he could beat Chosen or not. Rather, he could beat Chosen or not, or he get his ass handed to him by Chosen. That's irrelevant. Daniel couldn't fucking beat him. We know that. Until Miyagi was like, you stay focused. Daniel, best karate is still inside you. Now time to let it out. So then he got the revelation. Kata. But if it wasn't for Miyagi, he would have lost. He would have lost that tournament. Probably would have ran like a little bitch out of the arena and shit. And then he couldn't be chosen until he was reminded of the drum technique. So he was part 2 if they didn't do the drum, the drum thing and shit. And then it was like, oh yeah, the drum technique. That's how he beat Chosen. So let's get to the topic at hand. Let's talk about Mike Barnes. It's been 5 minutes now, 6 minutes. Let's talk about Mike Barnes. Let's do a little background of Mike Barnes. This is mostly speculation because we didn't see it. Hopefully, if he appears in the next season of Cobra Kai, he'll explain his past and that'll be fucking cool. So we can confirm how he grew up. But we do know that he grew up in a lower class family. He didn't grow up privileged or rich. You know what I'm saying? How do I know that? When he walked into Terry Silver's estate after Terry Silver found him and hired him to beat Daniel up, he was like, wow. He was in awe at what he was saying. Because if he was a rich kid, he'd been like, okay. He probably wouldn't even gave it a glance. He probably would have walked in, Mr. Silver. Because he's seen places like that. His own house probably looks like that, But somebody who doesn't live in that type of luxury is going to be, oh, wow. He was just checking it out. You know what I'm saying? So there that he didn't grow up like Johnny and shit, or Ali from Karate Kid 1 and shit. You know what I'm saying? So he had to he probably had, I can imagine that maybe his parents probably both had jobs, and I go as far as to say that maybe they didn't really have time for him because he was busy working, trying to make ends meet and shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's possible that Johnny, like Daniel, was bullied in school. That's why he took up karate in the first place. Maybe he was probably bullied or harassed in school and shit like that. So he's like, fuck, I take a karate. So the thing about karate, I don't know if it's self-taught. I kind of suspected it was, to the point where he actually developed his own fucking karate skills. And the reason why I suspect that it's self-taught, that he didn't go to no karate school, is in Karate Kid 3, at the end when the tournament, and Kreese was like, whoa, did you teach him that? Terry Silver responds, no, that one's his. So he was actually doing moves that Cobra Kai or Terry Silver didn't teach him. You know what I'm saying? Because keep in mind, Mike Barnes was already efficient in karate before Terry Silver recruited him. In fact, that's why Terry Silver was interested in him, because he was a karate champion. He was known as the bad boy. He was kicking ass. He was a karate champion and shit. So he was already sufficient in karate to the point where he could fucking handle every time Daniel went against him, he fucked Daniel's ass up. It's like, come on, man. People were like, oh, Daniel was nerfed. Of course he was. Or if he was, so what? Would you rather Daniel whoop Mike Barnes' ass every time he encountered him? What would that make Mike Barnes care? Why would you give a fuck about this guy if Daniel keeps beating his ass every time you try to make him to sign the application? That'd be stupid. You wouldn't even care about him. Mike Barnes is supposed to be a better fighter. He's supposed to be dominant. He's supposed to be kicking Daniel's ass. Therefore, you care about Daniel because you want him to say, like, how is he going to beat this guy? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, we still at Mike Barnes' background. He obviously grew up not in luxury. He possibly was bullied in school. His karate was probably self-taught. And if he did go to a school, it's possible. It's possible. I think it's self-taught. That's just me. Because if you think about it in the tournament, even though they told him to win a point, lose a point, that was like the thing to hurt Daniel. Mike Barnes was fucking dirty. You know what I'm saying? I go as far as to say, prior to Mike Barnes joining tournaments in his hometown and becoming champion, he was involved in street fights and shit. You know what I'm saying? He was a brawler and all that shit. Then he ended up, if he did go to a karate school, he probably ended up going to a karate school, learning karate and shit like that. Because probably he was bullied, like I said before. And, of course he was hard on Daniel about signing the application because as Daniel then signed the application into the tournament, Mike Barnes wasn't going to own 50% of Cobra Kai dojos. He wasn't going to get his big payday. You know what I'm saying? So obviously, he was getting paid for it. So yeah, man. I mean, his future was at stake. He said if he pretty much told Daniel, he said this is going to affect my financial future if you don't participate it, and I'm not going to let that happen. Get it? You know what I'm saying? He told Daniel pretty much like that. He said, dude, you got to fucking into this tournament because this is going to affect my fucking future, and I can't have it. Of course he's going to be upset because Daniel's like, you sign it, and Daniel pretty much insulted him. He said, well, I'm not going to be in the tournament. So I want you to go into the tournament and go for it. Go for the title. He says, no. I need your title. You have to be in that fucking tournament, man. Because it's going to affect my future. So, of course, Mike Barnes is going to be fucking pissed. Because Daniel's being stubborn. He even told Daniel, why you so stubborn? You know. So Daniel was pissing him off. Because Daniel was refusing to sign the application. And if you could call it luck, Daniel was actually forced to fucking sign the application. Yes, it's spoilers, by the way. I should have put that. I don't know if I could fit that in the title. I'm sorry. This is spoiler. If you ain't seen Karate Kid 3, you plan on seeing it, click off right now and continue the video afterwards. Or if you don't give a shit, you'll stay. So anyways, Daniel was forced to sign the application when he was at the bottom of the of that mountain. Because he wanted to get that tree Miyagi planted decades ago. This bonsai tree. To save Miyagi's business because they stole all the trees. Him and Mike Barnes and his goons and shit. They stole all the fucking trees and shit. Because Daniel called the police because they was, they trespassed and shit like that. So they was mad by Daniel calling the police on them. So they stole all the trees from Mr. Miyagi's bonsai shop that Daniel actually bought for him. You know, so he used his college tuition money to buy a building so Miyagi could live his dream selling bonsai trees. You know, so they stole the fucking trees. So, so Daniel wanted to get that tree. I guess he planned on selling it or something. I think he was going to sell it. And so Miyagi could end up buying more bonsai trees. Something like that. I ain't seen Karate 3 in a while. But he was going to retrieve that bonsai tree and his, not girlfriend, but this girl that he knew, she knew how to fucking skeet down the mountain and shit. Because her and her ex-boyfriend used to do it back in Columbus, where she's originally from. So they were down there. They went all the way down there because the tree had fell. And it fell in the water, so they had to go all the way down to the bottom of the mountain to rescue the tree from the salt water because it's going to kill the tree. You know what I'm saying? Because Daniel had slipped up there or something like that. So they went down, took the ropes off, and they got the tree, and Daniel was using the water to wash off the salt water and shit. And the ropes was being pulled up. So Daniel was pretty much on the spot to sign the application at that point. So luck was on pretty much on Mike Barnes' side, you know. And when Daniel finally signed it, Mike Barnes pretty much told me, he says, look, don't think about backing out, man, because then I'll really be pissed. He said, ain't no telling what we will do to you. Or what we all do to her, which is the girl, you know. You can imagine what they would do to her. Ooh. One of his goons was like, ha ha, now you're talking. So Mike Barnes pretty much was in a bind, because if Daniel didn't fucking participate, I believe Mike Barnes would have fucking did unmentionable things to Daniel's ass. You know what I'm saying? He would have fucked Daniel's ass up. Put it that way. He said, dude, I'm gonna be pissed if you don't show up. You know what I'm saying? Because Mike Barnes, he had an agenda, you know, to get Daniel to sign the application, get in the tournament, do what he has to do, own 50% of Cobra Kai dojos and get his fucking big ass paycheck. You know. So Mike Barnes, the way he treated Daniel was justified. Was he a bully? No. I mean, he had to be like that to get Daniel to sign the application, so I wouldn't call him a bully. You know, I wouldn't call him that. But of course he was an asshole. You know, he had to get Daniel to sign the application. He was mad. Shit, because Daniel's like, I ain't signing, you know. And then he gonna say, you sign it, you know, when he first met. He said, come on, man, you about to whoop Daniel's ass that time. But the boys calmed him down and shit. But yeah, and I can imagine how Mike Barnes felt when he lost against Daniel. In that turn, because he was like, Daniel fucking psyched him out doing that fucking kata and shit. And the last time we saw Mike Barnes, he was beating on the mat like, he was beating on the mat. He was mad, man. And you can only speculate what was it like when he flew back home, how devastated he was and how hurt he was that he fell short. Because I can imagine Terry Silver didn't give him a fucking dime. A dime. Because he failed. You know? I mean, if Terry Silver was generous, he probably would have gave him a little bit of money. So, okay, at least you tried. Here you go. Now go home. You know? But I don't think Terry Silver gave him a fucking dime. He was sitting home broke. Or the money in his pocket, you know what I'm saying? That he came with. Because he was hooked up. He stayed probably at a hotel that they paid for while he was out in Reseda. They probably paid for everything. His hotel stays and all that shit. As long as and all he had to do was get down into the tournament and shit. You know what I'm saying? And then as luxury, they taught him some Cobra Kai fighting moves and shit. You know, a couple of moves. Teach him how to throw some punches and kicks. It couldn't hurt, right? You know, so. But yeah, I mean, as far as people joining Cobra Kai, them being, I mean, everybody that joined Cobra Kai were not fucking victims of bullies. Some of them joined Cobra Kai because their friends joined. You know what I'm saying? So that, I'm just mentioning this because that just shows that Mike Barnes may have not been bullied at all. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he got the call from Silver. Silver's interested. He said, "Oh, if you come, blah blah blah, you get paid. You get to own 50% of the dojos and all that shit. Blah, blah, blah. You get to have your future set. You know what I'm saying? And you get more money besides the money I'm giving you." So Mike Barnes couldn't pass that shit up, especially being a lower class, raised in a lower class of society. You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on, man. You dangle money in front of a poor kid. They're like, oh shit, what I gotta do, you know? Yeah, Mike Barnes was a kid, man. You know what I'm saying? So probably was a little bit older than Daniel, probably. Maybe 1 year or so. But, you know, he was still a kid, you know, nonetheless, young man. Man with ambitions and shit like that, you know. So Now, was Mike Barnes necessarily a bad guy? I would like to say no. The situations that he was in and the pressure that he had made him aggressive. You know what I'm saying? Made him aggressive, towards Daniel because he had to be that way. He was put on the spot. So his life was at stake pretty much if Daniel didn't fucking sign the application. But I mean, think about how would you have handled if you was Mike Barnes? You got to put yourself into their shoes. You got to think like them. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. So yes, I found it interesting because in the description that I choose to copy and put in my description box, it says that Daniel himself admitted that Mike Barnes was the hardest fight of his life. And I can believe that. I can definitely believe that. I don't know when he admitted it, but he admitted he was afraid of him. He definitely admitted that in the movie. But I can imagine that Mike Barnes was the hardest fight of his life because Mike Barnes was kicking Daniel's ass in that tournament. Fucking him up. I was like, damn, worse than Johnny. Worse than the dude in part 1. And Mike Barnes wasn't trying to kill him. He was trying to fucking he was torturing him. Just like the plan was. Win the point, do you lose a point? Pulverize him for the full 3 minutes. Then in sudden death, you get the point, we win. That was the goal. Because those who saw Karate Kid 3, remember when he sucker punched Daniel in the face? I was like, damn. He said this gonna cost Barnes 1 point. Barnes all mocking like. I mean, think about it. Throughout the tournament, there was this little boy in the background. He was like, "Oh, come on, Barnes. Come on." He already had fans. Look, this little kid was rooting for Mike Barnes. I found that interesting. Because don't forget, this guy was a fucking celebrity. You know what I'm saying? He was the bad boy and shit. Because he probably came out sometime between late Karate Kid 2 when Daniel was in Okinawa. Because let's not forget, Mike Barnes is not from that place. He had to fly in. So he was from another city and shit. So Mike Barnes was probably kicking ass. He probably became recognized sometime in Karate Kid. Probably Karate Kid 1, he was the fucking champion. You know what I'm saying? But he wasn't the focus, of course, in that movie because he doesn't even fucking live in Reseda. He lives in a whole other fucking state, So so he had a reputation already as the karate's bad boy and shit. Because I don't think Terry Silver would have chose anybody that's ill-experienced, that has little to no experience for the job. You know what I'm saying? So Mike Barnes fit the bill because I think he had a lot of experience on this belt and shit. And I know that article he was reading in his limo about the bad, but I'm pretty sure they gave a little summary on who the fuck Mike Barnes is, So yeah, that's pretty much my analysis about Mike Barnes. I might do another one, especially if he appears in Cobra Kai season 5. If he does, another one may be in the works because I'm assuming that if he appears, which I hope he does, that they're gonna delve into his character more on his background and shit like that. How he felt after the events of Karate Kid 3 and all that shit. Because I can only speculate. We can only speculate on how bad. We know it was bad. He probably was so fucking sad flying back home like, ain't no telling how his life was after that. You know what I'm saying? Because when Terry Silver came back in season 4, he was pretty much explaining to us what life was like after the events of 3. How his life changed and how the things he went through, counseling, he had to stop the crack cocaine and shit. He pretty much explained what happened to him. You know what I'm saying? So I'm think they're gonna do. So I assume they're gonna do the same with Mike Barnes. He's gonna explain what happened to him. You know, because I don't know how they're gonna bring him back. I got a couple ideas, but we don't know how they're gonna bring him back. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking forward to seeing him in season 5. In fact, he's my most anticipated new character. Is Mike Barnes. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, this guy's fucking ruthless. And keep in mind, Mike Barnes had nothing personal against Daniel. Of course he didn't. If you watch Karate Kid 3, you know what I'm talking about. He had nothing. It was nothing personal. It was all business. All business. You know what I'm saying? And he could pretty much tell Daniel, they said, look, man, all the trouble I put you through, you know that shit was just business, right? You know what I'm saying? Probably gonna tell him something like that, you know? And then if he's working for Silver in season 5, he gonna say, just like now, it's business. You know? Cause I feel that Mike Barnes, if you pay him, he's gonna do anything you fucking want. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that he failed to beat Daniel back in Karate Kid 3, and Silver, let's say Silver recruits him again and pays him and say, okay, I want you to do this and that. He's gonna try even harder. He said, I'm not gonna fail this time, you know. So he gonna try even harder not to fail and shit. You know, because I don't see how Terry Silver want anything to do with him anymore. I don't see how he would want anything to do with Mike Barnes anymore. Because Mike Barnes did fail to beat them. Because Terry Silver was like, because when Daniel was doing that fucking kata, Mike Barnes was like, and it was like, Barnes, fight him! Mike Barnes, fight him. They was begging him to get the fucking point. Even Terry Silver was like, get the point! Get the point! You know, and he didn't even fucking attack him. So, I can imagine that Mike Barnes was tormented, or he couldn't get that out of his mind. Like, why can't I just fucking hit that guy? Why did I allow him to fucking psych me out? You know what I'm saying? I could have just fucking got the point and won, you know? He probably blames himself for not taking that shot. And then when finally he was about to do it, Daniel already was ready to fucking counter his ass. Because Daniel stopped doing the kata and shit. Mike Barnes like, what the fuck is he doing? Even one of his goons like, fuck Mike Barnes, fight him. He's hallucinating. You know? They was all begging him to get the point. Even Chris was like, what the fuck you doing? So I can imagine Terry Silver be pissed, man. I don't want to hire this fucker. It makes sense to me. You know, I think Terry Silver's going to call him back and hire him. That's what I think. But yeah, so anyways, that's my analysis of Mike Barnes, man. I know it's been it's about 30 minutes, but that's all I can think of. If I think of anything else, I'll definitely put it in the description books. So that's my analysis. With that being said, this is Wild Chromosome signing the fuck out. Peace and love. Good health to you all, and be safe out there. Peace. I'm out.